Yo, it's Big Ant the spokesman, man. We back. Another edition of Urban Politicians TV, UPTV. Make sure you stay on your pivot at all times, man. Had to come tap in as 50 Cent has decided to jump out there and use his number one tactic as beef to promote his latest product that he executive produced. Once again, as this time around, it's BMF, as it's going to be a part 2 to the documentary side of the collective that they had going on Stars, as they had the TV show that got canceled this last season, but they also had a whole deal as a whole where they were doing the documentary part to kind of like tell the storyline of the TV series and everything that went on with BMF. And he put this up on the gram today with the trailer. And I can't post that trailer right here because it's copyrighted through Stars, so I can't let y'all hear it.
The moment 50 Cent saw the headlines about the new documentary connected to the family of Big Meech, the tension that had been quietly building in the hip-hop world suddenly exploded again. For years, Big Meech and the story of the Black Mafia family had been deeply tied to the career moves of 50 Cent, especially through the hit series BMF. But now the spotlight shifted when Terry Flannery and people close to the Flannery family began pushing their own narrative through a new documentary. The moment word spread about the documentary, 50 Cent wasted no time jumping online and firing back with the kind of sharp, calculated response that only 50 Cent is known for. And what made the response even more explosive was the line he dropped, "T like my name still," a phrase that instantly set social media on fire and had fans trying to decode exactly what 50 Cent was implying about Terry Flannery and the entire situation surrounding Big Meech. The conflict wasn't random. The relationship between 50 Cent and the story of Big Meech goes back years, long before the cameras ever started rolling for BMF. When 50 Cent first began developing the show, he positioned himself as the main figure, bringing the history of the Black Mafia family to television audiences. Through interviews and promotional runs, 50 Cent repeatedly spoke about the rise of Big Meech and Terry Flannery, portraying their story as one of ambition, power, betrayal, and ultimately downfall. At the center of that story was the complicated dynamic between the two brothers, with Big Meech often described as the flashy, charismatic leader, while Terry Flannery played the quieter but strategic role. But as the show grew in popularity, tension behind the scenes purportedly began to surface. People close to Terry Flannery suggested that the portrayal of events in BMF wasn't always accurate. Some felt that 50 Cent was shaping the narrative in ways that benefited the drama of television, rather than the exact reality of what happened within the Black Mafia family. That quiet frustration slowly grew louder, and when the idea of a new documentary tied to Big Meech's family surfaced, it was clear that the story was about to move into a completely new chapter. For 50 Cent, control of the narrative has always been a key part of his brand, whether it was in music, television, or business ventures. 50 Cent built his reputation on staying several moves ahead of everyone else. So when the documentary began gaining attention online, fans immediately wondered how 50 Cent would react. It didn't take long for the answer to arrive. In classic 50 Cent fashion, he took to social media and delivered a message that was both cryptic and direct at the same time. Mentioning the phrase "T like my name still," 50 Cent appeared to throw a subtle jab toward Terry, while also reminding everyone that his own name carries weight whenever the story of Big Meech and the Black Mafia family is being told. Fans quickly began dissecting the message. Some believed 50 Cent was warning the creators of the documentary not to step on territory he had already established with BMF. Others felt the line was directed specifically at Terry Flannery, suggesting that 50 Cent still considered himself the dominant voice telling the BMF story, and because 50 Cent has a long history of using social media to escalate feuds. The internet immediately started treating the situation like the opening round of a much larger battle. The timing of everything only made the drama more intense. At the moment when the documentary news started spreading, interest in the legacy of Big Meech was already at an all-time high thanks to the continued success of BMF. The series had introduced a new generation of viewers to the rise of the Black Mafia family, turning what had once been underground street history into mainstream entertainment, and at the center of that transformation stood 50 Cent, who frequently reminded audiences that he was the one responsible for bringing the story to television screens around the world. However, people connected to Big Meech's family seemed determined to reclaim some of that narrative power. The documentary project was being framed as a more authentic look into the real lives behind the headlines, focusing not just on the criminal empire of the Black Mafia family, but also on the personal struggles, family dynamics, and complicated relationships that shaped the lives of Big Meech and Terry Flannery. For supporters of the Flannery family, the documentary represented a chance to tell the story in their own words, instead of relying on a dramatized television version produced by 50 Cent. But But the moment 50 Cent responded publicly, the conversation shifted. Instead of focusing solely on the documentary itself, the entire hip-hop community started watching the growing tension between 50 Cent and figures connected to Big Meech. Social media posts, screenshots, and fan theories began circulating everywhere, each one attempting to interpret the meaning behind the T like my name still comment. What made the moment even more interesting was the fact that 50 Cent has never been shy about turning real-life conflict into entertainment. Throughout his career, 50 Cent has used controversy as a powerful promotional tool. Whether it was rivalries with other artists or public disagreements with industry figures, 50 Cent often turned those clashes into moments that drove attention toward his projects. So when fans saw him respond to the documentary news involving Big Meech and Terry Flannery, many believed he might already be planning the next move in a much bigger strategy. At the same time, the involvement of Big Meech's brother added another layer of complexity to the situation. Terry Flannery has always been viewed as one of the most important figures within the history of the Black Mafia family. While Big Meech became the more publicly recognized face of the organization, insiders often described Terry Flannery as the strategic mind behind many of the operations. That reputation meant any project connected to him would immediately attract attention, especially if it appeared to challenge the version of events presented in BMF.s. Discussions continued to spread across hip-hop platforms. Fans began asking the same question: was this simply a promotional moment, or was there a deeper disagreement between 50 Cent and the people closest to Big Meech? The answer wasn't immediately clear, but one thing was certain. The moment 50 Cent responded with that single phrase, the entire narrative surrounding the new documentary changed. Instead of being just another project exploring the history of the Black Mafia family, the documentary suddenly became part of a larger storyline involving 50 Cent, Big Meech, and Terry Flannery. And in the world of hip-hop media, that kind of tension almost always leads to even bigger revelations. As more details about the documentary began surfacing, observers started paying close attention to how 50 Cent would react next. Because if history has shown anything, it's that when 50 Cent feels that someone is stepping into his lane or rewriting a story he helped popularize, he rarely stays silent for long. And with the names of Big Meech and Terry Flannery once again dominating headlines, the stage was set for a confrontation that could reshape how the legacy of the Black Mafia family is told in the years ahead. And the real twist in this story was only beginning to unfold, because behind the public comments, the social media posts, and the rising speculation, insiders were starting to whisper that the response from 50 Cent might only be the first move in a much deeper power struggle over who truly controls the story of Big Meech and the legacy of the Black Mafia family. The reaction to the documentary didn't slow down after the first response from 50 Cent. Instead, the situation started heating up even more as conversations around Big Meech and the history of the Black Mafia family spread across social media and hip-hop media outlets. Fans, bloggers, and insiders all began debating whether the new documentary connected to the family of Big Meech was meant to challenge the version of the story that 50 Cent had already brought to television through the hit series BMF. And as the discussion grew louder, it became clear that 50 Cent was watching every move closely. For years, 50 Cent had positioned himself as the person who revived the legacy of Big Meech for a new generation. When 50 Cent announced the development of BMF, many fans saw it as a major moment because the story of the Black Mafia family had already become legendary in hip-hop culture. Rappers had referenced Big Meech in songs for years, describing him as a symbol of wealth, power, and influence during the early 2000s. By turning that history into a major television series, 50 Cent effectively transformed underground street mythology into mainstream entertainment. But not everyone connected to Big Meech felt completely comfortable with how the story was being told. People close to Terry Flannery had occasionally hinted that certain details about the rise and internal conflicts of the Black Mafia family were either dramatized or simplified for television. While shows like BMF are designed to entertain, family members sometimes felt that the deeper personal realities behind Big Meech and Terry Flannery were being overshadowed by the action-packed storytelling style that 50 Cent is known for. That tension became more noticeable when talk of the new documentary began circulating. Unlike the dramatic structure of BMF, the documentary was rumored to focus on real interviews. Personal stories, and behind-the-scenes perspectives from people who were actually close to Big Meech during the peak years of the Black Mafia family. Supporters of the project argued that this approach would give audiences a more authentic understanding of how the empire truly operated and how the relationship between Big Meech and Terry Flannery evolved over time. For 50 Cent, the situation seemed to raise an important question about control. The success of BMF had already turned the BMF story into a major television franchise, and 50 Cent had invested years of work into building that platform. If another project suddenly appeared claiming to reveal the real story behind Big Meech, it could potentially shift public perception in ways that challenged the narrative established by 50 Cent. That's why the comment "T like my name" still carried so much weight when 50 Cent posted it online. The phrase might have sounded simple at first, but fans quickly realized it could contain multiple layers of meaning. Some interpreted the message as a direct reference to Terry Flannery, while others believed 50 Cent was simply reminding everyone that his influence over the BMF story was still strong. As the post spread across social media, hip-hop commentators began analyzing every word. Screenshots circulated on Instagram pages, reaction videos popped up on YouTube, and discussion threads appeared everywhere debating what 50 Cent truly meant. Some observers pointed out that 50 Cent has a long history of sending messages that seem playful on the surface but contain sharp criticism underneath. Others believed the line was part of a larger strategy to maintain his dominance over the narrative surrounding Big Meech. The timing of the response also raised eyebrows because 50 Cent had recently been expanding his influence in the television industry. After building a powerful reputation with projects like Power and BMF, 50 Cent became known as one of the most successful artist-turned-producers in entertainment. That reputation meant any project connected to the BMF story would automatically be compared to the work already produced by 50 Cent. Meanwhile, supporters of Big Meech's family insisted that the documentary wasn't meant to compete with 50 Cent at all. According to those voices, the goal was simply to present the perspective of the people who actually lived through the events. They argued that while BMF successfully captured the excitement and danger of the era, there were still many untold stories about the relationship between Big Meech and Terry Flannery that had never been fully explored. Even with those explanations, the response from 50 Cent ensured that the documentary would not remain a quiet project. Every time 50 Cent reacts publicly to something, attention multiplies instantly. His massive social media following means even a short post can reach millions of people within minutes. So by addressing the documentary the way he did, 50 Cent effectively guaranteed that the conversation surrounding Big Meech would dominate hip-hop headlines. Again, the situation also highlighted the complicated relationship between entertainment and real-life history. The story of the Black Mafia family is not just a piece of pop culture. It is tied to real people, real families, and real consequences that unfolded over decades. While shows like BMF transform those events into dramatic storytelling, documentaries often attempt to present them through a more factual lens. When both types of projects exist at the same time, disagreements about accuracy and ownership of the narrative can easily emerge. And that's exactly what seemed to be happening as the tension between 50 Cent and voices connected to Big Meech continued to grow. Every new rumor, every social media post, and every interview added another layer to the unfolding story. Fans were no longer just watching a television series or waiting for a documentary release. They were witnessing a real-time clash between powerful personalities, connected to one of the most famous crime stories in hip-hop history. Behind the scenes, insiders began hinting that this conflict might not remain limited to social media comments. If the documentary revealed details that contradicted the portrayal seen in BMF, it could potentially spark a much bigger debate about who truly controls the narrative surrounding Big Meech and the legacy of the Black Mafia family. And if there's one thing history has shown about 50 Cent, it's that he rarely backs down from a public battle once the spotlight turns on. With the documentary gaining attention and fans closely watching every reaction, many people started wondering whether the next move from 50 Cent would be even more direct than the first. Because in the world surrounding Big Meech and the powerful legacy of the Black Mafia family, every new revelation has the potential to change how the entire story is remembered. That is the conversation kept growing louder across the internet. It became clear that the response from 50 Cent wasn't just a random comment. The deeper people looked into the situation surrounding the new documentary connected to the family of Big Meech, the more it seemed like the tension had been building behind the scenes for a long time. And now that the public had started paying attention, every small detail was being analyzed. For years, the rise and fall of the Black Mafia family had remained one of the most talked about stories in hip-hop culture. The legend of Big Meech grew far beyond the streets where it originally began. Rappers mentioned Big Meech in lyrics. Interviews referenced the massive influence of the Black Mafia family. And over time, the entire story started to take on almost myth-like status. When 50 Cent brought that story to television with BMF, he essentially revived the legend for a completely new generation. But with success came another reality that many people didn't talk about openly: control over the story. When a real-life history turns into a major television production, the people behind the cameras inevitably gain influence over how the world sees that history. Through BMF, 50 Cent had become one of the most powerful voices shaping the narrative about Big Meech and the rise of the Black Mafia family. That influence is exactly why the announcement of a documentary connected to people close to Terry Flannery started raising eyebrows. Unlike a scripted series like BMF, a documentary has the potential to introduce new voices, new perspectives, and sometimes even new accusations. When those perspectives come directly from people who were part of the real story, audiences often treat them as more authentic than dramatized portrayals. And that's where the tension seemed to intensify. Supporters of the documentary claimed the project would reveal details about the early days of the Black Mafia family that had never been discussed publicly before. They hinted that the complicated relationship between Big Meech and Terry Flannery was far more complex than what audiences had seen on television. Meanwhile, observers noticed that 50 Cent continued to monitor the conversation closely. Anyone familiar with the history of 50 Cent knows that he has built a reputation for responding strategically when his name becomes part of a controversy. Over the years, 50 Cent has turned online conflicts into moments that keep him trending across the internet. Whether it was disputes with fellow artists or public disagreements with business figures, 50 Cent often uses humor, sarcasm, and carefully chosen words to keep control of the conversation. So when the phrase, "T like my name," still appeared online, fans immediately sensed that it wasn't just a casual remark. Some interpreted it as a subtle challenge aimed toward Terry, while others believed it was simply a reminder that 50 Cent still holds a major role in telling the story of Big Meech. The debate became even more intense when hip-hop commentators began bringing up past moments involving 50 Cent and the BMF legacy. Over the years, 50 Cent had openly expressed admiration for the larger-than-life image that surrounded Big Meech. In interviews, 50 Cent often spoke about how the scale of the Black Mafia family made the story feel almost cinematic. That admiration was one of the reasons he felt the narrative deserved a television series. However, admiration doesn't always translate into agreement about how events should be portrayed. People connected to Terry Flannery reportedly believed that certain aspects of the story required deeper explanation than what a television script could provide. They argued that documentaries allow real participants to speak directly to the audience without the filters that come with dramatized storytelling. As the two narratives began to exist side by side, the television series produced by 50 Cent in the upcoming documentary connected to the family of Big Meech started wondering whether the projects would eventually collide. Would the documentary confirm the version of events shown in BMF, or would it introduce details that challenge it? That question became even more important because the story of the Black Mafia family isn't just about crime. It's also about loyalty, family, bonds, ambition, and the complicated decisions that shape the lives of Big Meech and Terry Flannery. Every new project exploring that history has the potential to influence how future generations understand what really happened. For 50 Cent, the situation also touches on something deeper than entertainment. Over the last decade, he has built a powerful reputation as a television producer who can turn real-world stories into hit series. Shows like Power prove that 50 Cent understands how to create narratives that keep audiences hooked. That success makes him protective of the projects he develops. So when another production connected to the same historical figures begins attracting attention, it's almost inevitable that the conversation will turn competitive. Not necessarily because of personal animosity, but because storytelling itself becomes a form of influence. Whoever tells the story most effectively often becomes the voice that audiences remember. And as more rumors about the documentary continued circulating, the stakes started feeling even higher. Some insiders claimed the project would feature individuals who had never spoken publicly about the internal conflicts within the Black Mafia family. Others suggested that certain moments involving Big Meech and Terry Flannery could finally be explained in ways that had never been shared before. Whether those rumors were accurate or not, one thing became clear: the reaction from 50 Cent ensured that the entire hip-hop community would be paying attention when the documentary finally arrives. Every comment, every teaser, and every interview connected to the project would now be examined through the lens of the tension that had already started building. And the most interesting part of the story was that the public still didn't know how far the situation might escalate, because history has shown that when 50 Cent becomes involved in a public narrative battle, the story rarely ends with just one or two comments online. Instead, the conflict usually evolves into something bigger, something that draws even more attention, more reactions, and sometimes completely unexpected revelations about the people at the center of the story. And with the names of Big Meech and Terry Flannery once again dominating headlines, many fans were starting to suspect that the biggest twist in this entire situation had not yet been revealed. The tension surrounding the documentary connected to the family of Big Meech kept building as more people in the hip-hop world started paying attention to the growing situation. What originally looked like a simple announcement about a new project was now turning into something much bigger, mainly because of the reaction from 50 Cent. Every time 50 Cent speaks on something publicly, it has a way of changing the entire atmosphere around the topic. And that is exactly what happened here. After the phrase "T, like my name," still began circulating across social media, fans started watching closely to see whether anyone connected to Terry Flannery would respond directly. The internet thrives on moments like this, where a single line can spark thousands of reactions and theories. Some people believed 50 Cent was simply reminding everyone that his influence over the story of Big Meech and the legacy of the Black Mafia family was still very strong. Others thought the line carried a deeper meaning, hinting at frustration about another project, stepping into a space that 50 Cent had spent years developing. Through the television success of BMF, what made the situation even more fascinating was the history behind how the BMF story became such a powerful part of hip-hop culture. Long before television shows and documentaries entered the picture, the name Big Meech had already become legendary through music, street stories, and the larger-than-life reputation of the Black Mafia family. Artists referenced Big Meech in lyrics as a symbol of power and wealth, turning the figure into almost a mythological character within rap culture. When 50 Cent decided to turn that history into the television drama BMF, it introduced millions of viewers to a story they had only heard about in fragments before. The series dramatized the early years of Big Meech and his brother Terry Flannery, showing how two brothers from Detroit built one of the most talked-about organizations in hip-hop history. Because of the popularity of the show, many younger viewers began associating the entire BMF story directly with the work of 50 Cent. But documentaries operate differently than scripted television. While shows like BMF rely on actors, scripts, and dramatic storytelling, documentaries often focus on interviews, archived footage, and first-hand accounts. That difference means a documentary connected to people close to Big Meech could potentially reveal details that viewers never saw in the television version. This possibility is exactly why the situation began to feel like more than just a simple disagreement. When multiple storytellers attempt to tell the same real-life history, questions about accuracy and perspective naturally arise. Some supporters of the documentary argued that the people who lived through the rise of the Black Mafia family should have the opportunity to explain their experiences in their own words. Others believed that 50 Cent had already created a powerful platform for that story and deserved recognition for bringing it into mainstream entertainment. Meanwhile, observers continued to watch how 50 Cent handled the situation. One reason the moment attracted so much attention is because 50 Cent has built a career on navigating controversy with a mix of humor and calculated messaging. Instead of long explanations or emotional responses, he often drops short lines that spark conversation without revealing everything he's thinking. The phrase "T like my name" still became one of those moments. Fans replayed the line over and over, trying to understand whether it was directed at Terry Flannery, the creators of the documentary, or simply the entire conversation surrounding the BMF legacy. Because 50 Cent didn't immediately clarify the meaning, the mystery only made the situation more intriguing. At the same time, the growing interest in the documentary suggested that the public still has a huge appetite for stories connected to Big Meech. Decades after the rise of the Black Mafia family, the story continues to capture attention because it combines real-life drama with cultural impact. The rise, the loyalty between brothers, the eventual downfall, and the lasting influence on hip-hop culture all make it one of the most compelling narratives in modern urban history. And that's why every new project connected to the story instantly becomes a major topic of discussion. Whether it's a scripted series like BMF or a documentary exploring new perspectives, audiences remain fascinated by the world that surrounded Big Meech and Terry Flannery. In the end, the response from 50 Cent did something very important. It ensured that everyone would be watching closely when the documentary finally arrives. Instead of quietly releasing without much attention, the project is now surrounded by curiosity, speculation, and anticipation. People want to see whether the documentary will align with the narrative already shown in BMF or introduce completely new perspectives about the rise of the Black Mafia family, and perhaps that's the most interesting part of the entire situation. Stories like the one surrounding Big Meech never truly belong to just one person. They exist in multiple forms through music, television, documentaries, and the memories of the people who experienced those moments firsthand. Each version adds another layer to the larger narrative. But if there's one thing the hip-hop world has learned over the years, it's that when 50 Cent enters the conversation, the story rarely stays quiet for long. Whether through another social media post, a future episode of BMF, or a completely unexpected move, Fans know that 50 Cent always has a way of keeping the spotlight exactly where he wants it. And now the biggest question remains unanswered. When the documentary finally reveals its full story about Big Meech, will it confirm the version of events the world has already seen? Or will it expose an entirely different side of the legend behind the Black Mafia family? If you want to stay updated on every twist in this story and other major moments happening in hip-hop culture, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video.